Hi, it's Jen back with our final row of A Very Merry Christmas Sew Along. This is the wreath. I love having a wreath on my front door at Christmas time. That classic, beautiful wreath with the red bow. Some fun techniques here. Can't wait to talk to you about how to do this. Again, we're going to be incorporating the flying geese tool as an option for you, but I'll talk to you about the traditional way. But let's just start about the upper portion of our wreath. And we're going to once again maybe deviate just a little bit in our pressing instructions from the pattern to give us some interlocking seams, which we love. We're starting off with, if you just kind of isolate that was just a square, 3.5 inch square. And we snowballed the corner. That's not new to you. We keep doing that over and over, right? It's nice when you're like, oh, that's easy peasy. I've been doing that for the last several weeks. And we have. What's different about this one? I went ahead and made one, and now I stitched it but didn't press it. One of them will be pressed toward the white and of course trimmed. The other will be pressed toward the green. This is what is going to give us some interlocking seams, but let me go ahead and trim that away. I'm going to sew that with you. I want to just show you the advantage of kind of thinking through pressing instructions. Remember that pressing instructions in any pattern are a suggestion. If you think you have a better way to press, that's going to give you better points coming together, a flatter quilt block, by all means do it. We do it all the time here. Some patterns don't even talk to you about pressing, and you're really kind of on your own to figure out the most advantageous way to press that block. So for what we knew what we wanted here, I'm just flipping this over so you can see that. This is this one. This here, we've pressed toward the green. When you're doing that, so let's say we just snowballed this corner, it's almost easier to just press it from the back side. What's very important is that this unit, when you put a ruler to it, I've had my creative grid 3.5, is still 3.5. You're not losing anything. You shouldn't be gaining anything either. You're just adding fabric to the corner to create this nice effect. Once I have, let's flip this over, this part of my wreath, when I place them right side together, that's that lock that I'm looking for. That's going to help me get that beautiful point right here. So let's sew that together. I'm definitely going to put a pin in that place. And we did press that open, as you would expect. And let's look at that. If that point's not coming together exactly right, something might have shifted, seam rip it. Just seam rip it. After everything you've done and to get to this place, and sometimes I will admit I get lazy on the last row of a quilt. I just wanted the project to be done. Maybe I've been working on it for longer than I thought I wanted to be working on it, or there's more projects waiting, and I end up getting a little bit lazy with the same level of commitment to accurate piecing and points. So just an encouragement. I'm happy though, very happy with that point here. So let's put that up there for now. The sides of this here, nothing to it. We have a rectangle and you snowballed the corner, not anything new to you. This portion right here though, very clever. Now you've got the traditional way to do this is starting with your red fabric. You have a rectangle and you would have a green and a white You would place that on the corner, draw the line, sew and flip. It's what we've been doing continually. That's the traditional way to make this flying geese block. Of course, there's a little bit of waste as you press away. You move the flap back and you trim that. And of course, you're doing that on the other side. There's nothing to square up, however. We're going to show you a technique using the flying geese tool. Very clever, minimal waste, and I think it's a lot of fun when we can incorporate a tool for maximum precision. Of course, we want this row to be clicking together like a puzzle. When we get to oversize and square up, every time we can do that, we're nearly guaranteeing ourselves we're getting more likely to get the precision that we're looking for. So, starting off with your red fabric, this is going to be, let's see, what size is that unit? I'm not even sure. Let's measure our fabric. Let's see what we have here. This is like 1, 2, 3, 4, and maybe 5/8. 4 3/4. Okay, this is going to measure in a 1.5 by 3 finish. This is different than what we've done before. Let me bring the ruler here. Remember before in our previous blocks we were letter D, and everything we were looking at was letter D. I don't know how to engage with this ruler when I'm doing a different size flying geese until I understand what the finish measurement should be. And I'm like, I know that's not a 2 by 4. So this is our 1.5 by 3. We're now a letter C. That's why this fabric was cut to 4 3/4 right here. Let's confirm that. And it was 1, 2, 3, 4 3/4. Remember how before we cut 4 of our smaller squares, and previously we were all cutting them out of the same color fabric. What makes this different and makes it possible to have the flying geese have one color on one side and one on the other is you're going to cut 2 white and you're going to cut 2 green. Here are my 2 white and my 2 green are right here. That's what's going to give us 2 different colors on the flying geese. Just like before, same technique, and it doesn't matter which one you want to start with. I just put the white down. Draw the line and sew a 1/4 inch on either side. Unpin, and we will cut that on our drawn line. And just like before, we're pressing toward our outside. Now I've done that ahead of time just so we can speed up our process. Remember we cut 2 white and 2 green. That step right there of that 1 red with the 2 white is of course going to produce 2 of these. I'll just press the other one. We'll put it off to the side. That's fine. With our green, we're drawing the line, placing that in that corner, and we'll pin, and I'll sew a 1/4 inch on either side. And a very cool effect is going to happen. I think this is so clever. When we cut this apart, and we're pressing away, looking at our block, of course this is oversized, we're going to square this up, but look what we've created. Isn't that the most clever technique to be able to achieve that in a more efficient and accurate way? So let's just go through that exercise. It's been a few weeks since we've engaged with our trim tool. We're letter C. We're starting with our trim 1. So we'll drop that right into that pocket right there. Looking for my nice lineup. With our trim 1, we get 2 trims. The right side and the top side. We'll continue with one more 90-degree clockwise rotation. We're now at trim 2, sliding down, looking for C, right into that slot. Guidance on the left, guidance below. Okay. Trim and trim. That right there is going to be that side of our block, right? That's right here. I'll trim the other one up. I do want to sew that point together. I'm going to give you some hints on bringing those points together there. I'll just do that real quick. I love it. I love that precision. Love that precision that I can't appear to achieve on my own. I try, but let's use some aids to add some fun to our sewing. So we know these points need to come together. Here, let me just move our spinning mat out of the way. We have appreciated our spinning mat, but we are done with that for this project. Just laying out this wreath in this combination of fabrics. So whether you sew these two together and then the 2 halves, it doesn't really matter. As we know that this is a very tender point right there. There's a lot of fabric coming together. As you place these right side together, pin right in that middle. Right on those ends, and sew slowly. There's a lot of fabric coming together right in the center. Okay, let's see how we did. Now we're looking for that point. We'll press that seam open. I'm very happy with that. If I wasn't, I'd be seam ripping. We've come a long way together. We want that final blocks to be just as accurate as the first row we sewed together many weeks ago. So now that we have this, of course, right side together, 1/4 inch, and I'll flip that over so you're seeing our pressing. Looks like we did press that open, just like I did that center row, open again, and then of course the top half to the bottom half, right? This block's easy peasy compared to some of the other blocks we've done. Just like the other rows, I think we've got 7 wreaths here, it looks like. They have that strip in between. Take that measurement check of that row. That's the honesty check, right? And hey guys, I can tell you on probably one hand, maybe 2, the number of times that my row has actually come out to the number that it says in the pattern. Generally, I'm under. I tend to sew on that chunkier side. The seam guide and the diagonal seam tape has really helped me dial that in and stop that bad habit. If you're finding your rows a little bit short, again, we're going to add that kind of extra in that coping strip. You're gonna, instead of maybe, I don't know what that cut is down there. Let's say it's 1.5. Maybe you cut it 1/5/8 or maybe 1 3/4. That's where you're going to be able to make your adjustment. As we look at the quilt, of course, for completion, if you've gotten this far, this is, I'm just going to talk you through an exercise you'll have no problem with. And that is that each one of those rows of piece blocks, once you've sewn them together, has a sashing strip beneath it. So the top row, of course, has its sashing strip beneath it, beneath it, beneath it. And that continues all the way down. Once you have that done, your side borders go on, your top and bottom borders go on, and then you're off to the quilter, of course, and then you can come back with your beautiful binding. We did a 2.5-inch binding, so if you prefer 2 1/4, there'll be a little bit of fabric extra extra laying around after that. And we want to see your quilt. You know, sew-alongs, it's always fun to see people's progress. We know what this is going to look like, right? Because you bought that kit. So everyone's fabrics are going to look alike, but we still love to see your progress. And hey, if you maybe aren't keeping up on a weekly basis, I've never kept up with a sew. I'm too busy. So whenever you're watching these videos and maybe completing your quilt, maybe a year from now even, we would still love to see your project. Thank you so much for staying with me all these multiple weeks. You know there's more on the horizon. We're always busy as designers, looking for new projects, looking for new fabrics. So be sure to join the conversation. Hashtag us on Instagram and all the social medias, and I'll see you soon on more Shabby Fabrics videos.